Premanandi Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotaramam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, The Movements of the Living Entities, Text number 5. Matur Jagdana Panadyer Ehad Datur Asmate Sete Vin Murtrayor Garte Sa Jantur Jantu Sambhave Matur Jagadana Pandayer Panadyer Ehad Datur Asamate Setevin Mutrayor Garte Sajantur Jantu Sambhave Matur Jagadana Panadyer Ehad Datur Asammate Setevin Mutrayor Garte Sajantur Jantu Sambhave Matur Jagadana Panadyer Ehad Datur Asammate Setevin Mutrayor Garte Sajantur Jantu Sambhave
Matur Jagdana Panagir Eda Datura Sammate Shete Vin Mutrayor Garte Sajantur Jantu Sambhave
Matur Jagdhana Panadhyer Etadatur Sammate Shetevin Mutrayor Garte Sajantur Jantu Sambhave
Mataji's.
Matur Jagdana Panagir Eta Datura Sammate Shete Vin Mutrayor Garte Sajantur Jantu Sambhave
Matu of the mother. Jagda, taken. Anapana, by the food and drink. Adyai, and so on. Edhat, increasing. Dhatu, the ingredients of his body. Asammate, abominable. Sete, remains. Vitmutrayo, of stools and urine. Garte, in a hollow. Sa, that. Jantu, fetus. Jantu, of worms. Sambhave, the breeding place. Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. Purport. In the Markandeya Purana, it is said that in the intestine of the mother, the umbilical cord, which is known as apyayanti, apyayani, joins the mother to the abdomen of the child, and through this passage, the child within the womb accepts the mother's assimilated foodstuff. In this way, the child is fed by the mother's intestine within the womb and grows from day to day. The statement of the Markandeya Purana about the child's situation within the womb is exactly corroborated by modern medical science, and thus the authority of the Puranas cannot be disproved, as is sometimes attempted by the Mayavadi philosophers. Since the child depends completely on the assimilated foodstuff of the mother, during pregnancy there are restrictions on the food taken by the mother. Too much salt, chili, onion, and similar food is forbidden for the pregnant mother because the child's body is too delicate and new for him to tolerate such pungent food. Restrictions and precautions to be taken by the pregnant mother, as enunciated in the Smriti scriptures of Vedic literature, are very useful. We can understand from the Vedic literature how much care is taken to beget a nice child in society. The Garbhadan ceremony before sexual intercourse was compulsory for persons in the higher grades of society, and it is very scientific. Other processes recommended in the Vedic literature during pregnancy are also very important. To take care of the child is the primary duty of the parents, because if such care is taken, society will be filled with good population to maintain the peace and prosperity of the society, country, and human race. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umlitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Nyena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raganatan Vinamdam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Matur Jagdana Panadyer Ehad Dator Asamate Sete Vin Mutrayor Garte Sajantor Jantu Sambhave. Deriving its nutrition from the food and drink taken by the mother, the fetus grows and remains in that abominable residence of stools and urine, which is the breeding place of all kinds of worms. It's proper that the speaker gets the flip, gets the garland. You shouldn't forget that. In the Markandeya Purana, it is said that the intestine of the mother, the umbilical cord, which is known as Apyayani, joins the mother of the abdomen and the child, and through this passage, the child within the womb accepts the mother's assimilated foodstuff. In this way, the child is fed by the mother's intestine within the womb and grows from day to day. Prabhupada begins this purport, which is the most substantial purport since verse number 1. Hare Krishna. By relating this description to the very ancient Markandeya Purana, many hundreds and hundreds of millions of years old Purana, to taking a nice jab at the modern so-called scientists who are also Mayavadis, impersonalism and voidism, by not understanding or accepting the version of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The statement of the Markandeya Purana about the child's situation within the womb is exactly corroborated by modern medical science. And thus the authority of the Puranas cannot be disproved, as is sometimes attempted by the Mayavadi philosophers. Just recently, devotees posted this, which is extremely amazing. A Vedic Garuda bell found in a 300 million year old coal deposit in West Virginia. Anyone of the Vedic culture would immediately recognize this bell as a Garuda bell. And on the top of the bell is Garuda, the handle used in Vedic ceremonies. However, this particular bell is 300 million years old and was found not in India, but in a small town in West Virginia. The discovery was made in 1944, 80 years ago, when a 10-year-old boy named Newton Richard Anderson had dropped a big piece of coal, which subsequently cracked open to reveal the Garuda bell inside. The bell clearly shows Garuda in the traditional pose of two hands clasped together in prayer and with two wings outspread. The Garuda bells are particularly used in the worship of Vishnu. And the find is evidence of an ancient practice of Vaishnavism in North America. This is exactly as we read in the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, how the Vedic culture is predominant all over this planet. Indeed, Bharatvarsha after the rule of Maharaj Bharat, is describing this entire planet, not just India. It's very nice how they're changing the names of important cities and even the entire country of India, which was names given by colonial, imperial conquerors. Allahabad, that's a Muslim name. Prayagraj. Bombay. God is Mumbai. So they want to change India to Bharat. And even on official legal documents in the government, they're referring to India as Bharat. But not just this small subcontinent, but the entire planet, Bharatvarsha. Evidence of ancient practice of Vaishnavism in North America. Garuda bell, worship of Lord Vishnu. The coal in which the bell was embedded came from a coal deposit was dated by analysts researching this discovery to be 300 million years old. That's how many yuga cycles in the past?
Like 200 something.
Incredible, huh? The above artifact is unquestionably part of the 75, okay.
4 million years.
Okay. Used by Aryan people in the worship of Vishnu. The discovery of the bell completely contradicts, yay, the prevailing paradigm or scam, to use a more colloquial street term, of the evolutionary historical timeline which teaches that advanced human civilizations had not appeared at that time. The current timeline states that Homo sapiens appeared between 100 and 200,000 years ago, right? And we were just like monkeys, chimpanzees, primates, scratching our armpits in the jungle, right? No human civilization. And human civilizations capable of producing a bell, such as the one shown below, appeared only within the last few thousand years. A 300 million year old bell not only refutes that idea, it also refutes the idea that ancient civilizations on different continents had developed independently and that there was little or no contact or shared culture between them. I'll post this on the group chat for all, you can study on your own and possess it as your own personal property.
The bell?
Yeah, the bell. One of the first persons to comment, perhaps the most glorious resident of West Virginia, Malati Devi Dasi. She made an interesting comment. Huh?
That's where they found it?
West Virginia. So, thus the authority of the Puranas cannot be disproved, as is sometimes attempted by the Mayavadi philosophers. Since the child depends completely on the assimilated foodstuff of the mother during pregnancy, there are restrictions on the food taken by the mother. Too much salt, chili, onion, and similar food is forbidden for the pregnant mother because the child's body is too delicate and new for him to tolerate such pungent food. Restrictions and precautions to be taken by the pregnant mother as enunciated in the Smriti scriptures of Vedic literatures are very useful. So there's such a, lack of a better word, intimate relationship between the mother and the child We see in calculation in Vedic culture, when's your birthday? It's not when you come out of your mother's womb, but at the time of conception. Whatever is your birthday, add 9 months to it, and that's when you were that's the actual calculation. So all of this demoniac and complete confusion and darkness about, the right to abort the child. When is the child actually alive? Is completely crazy. And of course, we know the underlying motivation behind it. It's just simply demoniac bodily conception of life and lust. That's all. In one place in the Bhāgavatam, it's described that the pleasure coating on the genitals is created by Lord Brahma, because without that, who would want to undergo the pain and trouble of childbirth and child rearing? So demons, they try to negate that responsibility, which described as a great responsibility with a great outcome. The Garbhadan ceremony before sexual intercourse was compulsory for persons in the higher grades of society. What is higher grade of society? You're living in Central Park Tower on 57th Street, in like an apartment that costs $40 million. Is that the higher grade of society?
Living high at a low level.
Right. Let's refer to Achyutananda in the 1966 movie for his opinion, right? Okay. We're acting low on a high level, or we're acting high on a low level? Did you get that? Okay. Higher grade means understanding what is the theme and method and purpose of life and how to execute it properly. And it is very scientific. So Prabhupada warns in that the demon should not accept the part of the hen that gives the egg and negate the other part that you have to feed. So taking great responsibility. And this illusion that the emulsification of the sperm and ovum, the discharge of the male and female, this creates life. Under the authority, ultimately, of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a living entity is given another chance to upgrade themselves and ultimately perfect themselves in this human form of life. And in the higher grades of society, namely those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna, all care is taken, and that care is taken on complete understanding. Krishna teaches, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brasta Bijayate. And even more than that, a ray of Vishnu. When we were just hearing, when Kardama Muni was going away, Devahuti said, "You must award me fearlessness." And at that time, Kapila Dev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, became her son. And it is the great ambition, the greatest ambition for a woman to have as her son either a great saintly person or even the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's perfection of motherhood. That's why Mother Yashoda, the supreme example, is so glorious and so praiseworthy. So Prabhupada is mentioning here how much care is taken. We can understand from the Vedic literature how much care is taken to beget a nice child in society. And similar to Mother Yashoda, or shall we say identical, is Mother Sachi Devi. There's a very beautiful description in the chapter Advent of Lord Chaitanya, the birth of Lord Chaitanya. And so glorious and so wonderful that Krishna, even he himself, when he comes, he takes birth. Janma karma cha me divyam. What does Krishna say? One who knows the transcendental nature of my birth, my appearance, and of course my activities. Prabhupada said that Mayapur is Lord Chaitanya's Janmastan, but due to the presence of ISKCON, perhaps more importantly, Prabhupada stressed, or he said, it is the Karmastan, the activities of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is to propagate the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, the Yuga Dharma, all over the universe. So we'll read a little description of Lord Chaitanya's birth. And here's the benediction. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his causeless mercy, made his advent in the house of Sachi Devi. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful to anyone. Just see how Prabhupada had such faith in anyone hearing the topics of Krishna, the glorification of Krishna, how miraculously transformative it would be. The Bowery bums stumbling in, hey, what's this all about? Whoa, there's a church? Okay, I'll be right back. And 15 minutes later, 4 rolls of toilet paper, some paper towels, maybe some like Windex spray. Went to the back, and everyone's gone, used the bathroom in 26th Avenue, tiny little, put it under the sink. Thank you very much. Sure. He kind of stumbled out the door. Just see, he is not in order, yet he heard and saw, let me do some service. This is natural. The Mott Street boys looked at each other with amazement, We can become saints, even the old derelict bum can become a saint. Bonnie and Gary McElroy would come from Austin, Texas, hearing about the lore of the Haight-Ashbury district. When they got there, saw that it was just like a drugged out extension of the Bowery, for young people. So they were disillusioned and in so much anxiety. By great fortune, they came to know of Prabhupada at the 518 Frederick Street. They visited him in his apartment. They went through their whole story in great anxiety, and Prabhupada said, you simply come to my classes. And Bonnie McElroy, who later became Govindadasi, in recounting this story, said, we couldn't believe it. It seemed like such an unbelievable panacea. Is this going to solve all our problems? Just come in the morning to Bhagavad Gita class? But because this incredible, beautiful, saintly personality was saying it, we just believed it. And we followed his instructions. Lord Chaitanya is very merciful to anyone who hears this narration of his birth, and thus such a person attains the lotus feet of the Lord. Anyone who attains a human body but does not take to the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is baffled in his opportunity. Amrita Duni is a flowing river of the nectar of devotional service. If after getting a human body one drinks the water in a poison pit of material happiness, instead of the water of such a river, It would be better for him not to have lived, but to have died long ago. This is a very nice purport. We don't have time, but Prabhupada includes 1, 2, 3 verses from Prabodhananda Saraswati. Actually, all right, we'll try to cheat it in here. This material world is without Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna consciousness personified. Therefore, if a very learned scholar or scientist, there you go, scientists, do not understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, certainly he is wandering uselessly in this world. A person who does not take advantage of the nectar of devotional service overflowing during the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult is certainly the poorest of the poor. How long can you live in your skyscraper building? How long will you be president or prime minister? How long will you have all this fame and influence over others? You're so attached, all right, you can become a rat and live in your skyscraper building. When you cross Livingston Street on Nevins and you're walking back to the temple or going to the subway, you know, they just did a thing and they like put all of this, you know, at the corner there, you know. So there's like 2 or 3 holes, you know, by this tree that's got this iron railing around it. And who's living in those holes? A whole family of rats. The advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just like an expanding ocean of nectar. One who does not collect the valuable jewels within this ocean is useless, is certainly the poorest of the poor. That keeps things in right perspective. Who is poor? Who is rich? So this is the festival of Jagannath Mishra. Whatever riches Jagannath Mishra collected in the form of gifts and presentations, and whatever he had in his house, he distributed among the Brahmins. I just heard Prabhupada speaking in Nairobi, Kenya, and he said that you collect money for prasadam distribution and distribute prasadam, and there will be no scarcity. You will have an unlimited supply. And he went on to say we have over 100 centers, and in each center, no less than 50 persons, some places 250, and we are supplying everyone sumptuous prasadam. Whatever he had in his house, he distributed among the Brahmins, professional singers, dancers, and the poor. He honored them all by giving them riches and charity. The wife of Srivas Thakur, whose name was Malini, accompanied by the wife of Chandrasekhar, Charyaratna, and other ladies, came there in great happiness to worship the baby with paraphernalia such as vermilion, turmeric, oil, fused rice, bananas, and coconuts. Prabhupada is mentioning how these are all very auspicious. Also, turmeric mixed with oil and vermilion makes an auspicious ointment that is smeared over the body of a newly born baby or a person who is going to marry. These are all auspicious activities in family affairs. We see that 500 years ago, at the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all these ceremonies were performed rigidly. But at present, such ritualistic performances hardly ever take place. And here, beautiful glorification of our Western culture, I will impart to you now. Please hear. Generally, a pregnant mother is sent to the hospital. And as soon as the child is born, he is washed with an antiseptic. And this concludes everything. Jai. So, speaking of antiseptic, Sita Thakurani, the wife of Advaitacharya, came to the house of Sachi Devi, bringing with her newly kinds of eatables, dresses, and other gifts. She was astonished to see the newly born child, for she appreciated that except for a difference in color, the child was directly Krishna of Goloka himself. Seeing the transcendental bodily effulgence of the child, each of his newly constructed limbs full of auspicious signs and resembling a form of gold, Sita Thakurani was very pleased, and because of her maternal affection, she felt as if her heart were melting. She blessed the newly born child by placing fresh grass and paddy on his head and saying, "May you be blessed with a long duration of life." But being afraid of ghosts and witches, she gave the child the name Nimai. So it is understood that such inauspicious living creatures like ghosts cannot go near a nim tree. At least medically, it is accepted that nim wood is extremely antiseptic, and formerly it was customary to have a nim tree in front of one's house. On very large roads in India, especially in Uttar Pradesh, there are hundreds and thousands of nim trees. Nim wood is so antiseptic that the Ayurvedic science uses it to cure leprosy. Medical scientists have extracted the active principle of the nim tree, which is called margosic acid. Nim is used for many purposes, especially to brush the teeth. In Indian villages, 90% of the people use nim twigs for this purpose. Because of all the antiseptic effects of the nim tree, and because Lord Chaitanya was born beneath a nim tree, Sita Thakurani gave the Lord the name Nimai. So Krishna, he has told us in Bhagavad Gita that I am the healing herb. Everything that you need for a happy and healthy life in this material world, of which the main purpose is to achieve pure devotional service, is given to you generously, lovingly. So the demons, they cover up this knowledge and produce their own so-called cures for diseases, but actually their goal is to make people sicker and more dependent upon their nonsensical demoniac inventions. Krishna and his pure devotees, by taking shelter of them, your life can be saved and your life can be extended. Whereas you come under the influence of the demons, your life becomes very risky and your life is shortened. That is Kali Yuga. That is why the lifespan is shortened in Kali Yuga, because it is true virtue is you start at the very beginning only at 25% out of 100, going down to 0. How far can you possibly get in such a handicapped situation? So therefore, Lord Chaitanya has blessed this age. And even 4,500 years before Lord Chaitanya's appearance, Shukadeva Goswami, he pointed out, even though there's such a terrible age, unlimited disqualifications, there is only one qualification, which is such a great thing that it overshadows everything else, which is simply by taking shelter of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One overcomes everything of this fallen age and goes back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime, if one does right. The Garbhadan ceremony before sexual intercourse was compulsory for persons in the higher grades of society, and it is very scientific. Other processes recommended in the Vedic literature during pregnancy are also very important. So there's such a, is this a word, symbiotic relationship between the mother and her, this soul, this living entity is now taken shelter in her body. How could she not be aware or sensitive to the child's needs or the child's happiness or unhappiness? So like eating these forbidden foods. There was a mass shooting in near Fort Lauderdale, Florida in 2018, the Parkland shooter, clearly guilty, killed 17 people, children and faculty, wounded 17 others. So it came down to life in prison without the chance of parole or the death penalty. So his defense team is arguing that he had, what did the term they used? Fetal something. His mother was a drunk and was just drinking alcohol.
Alcohol poisoning?
Something like that. I forget the exact term. And that's, you know. And they brought in all these different experts to prove that this is just a fallacious and illogical argument. This person completely knew what he was doing. He calculated it, premeditated, et cetera, et cetera. Ultimately, because it's a jury trial, and the way the law was in Florida at the time, if one person out of the 12 doesn't agree, then the person can't get the death penalty. Again, complete confusion about how the Supreme Personality of Godhead directs and wants everything to be organized. We understand that for a murderer, it is good that they're put to death because the karma from their heinous crime is wiped clean, and they can begin their next life when they come to the human form again, not hampered by the sinful reaction. They have to be themselves killed 17 times, wounded 17 times, 34 times, whatever. So everyone is responsible for their actions. Still, at the same time, as described here, that those who are put in a position where others are helplessly dependent upon their treating them properly, and they misuse that responsibility, that is a very terrible thing. Very, very sinful. So the mother naturally has very deep love for her child, and that's mothers in all species of life. You can see so many examples of mothers in different species doing everything, practically sacrificing their lives for their children. So how demoniac it is to not take care during pregnancy, and what to speak of contemplating and going about having an abortion. This is Kali Yuga. This is one of the great anxieties of Arjuna that he expressed to Lord Krishna, why he didn't want to fight his cousin brothers and engage in this fratricidal war, the Battle of Kurukshetra. O Janardhan, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sins? With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in their religion. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. We see when a particular country is defeated by another, especially if that country was the provoker or warmonger in the case of Nazi Germany when the Red Army overran, took back everything that they had conquered previously, Poland and countries in the East, and then, with the Western allies, Britain and America and the rest, they put a line right down the middle of Germany. So when the Red Army came into Berlin, they just scorched earth everyone, and all the women were just unspeakable. As one example, general situation, vengeance, retribution. Women and children are the most conspicuous evil. Their mistreatment in wartime is one of the most conspicuous and evil, terrible things that generally happen, especially in Kali Yuga. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. So all of the proper ceremonies for the upkeep of the family would stop in such a situation, and he didn't want to be responsible for that. That was one of his main arguments. Of course, Krishna, he showed ultimately that this cause is just, and the ultimate outcome would be glorious for everyone concerned, seeing things from the spiritual platform. Today is also Janu Saptami. This is very, very interesting information. Perhaps some of you do not know this. We're going to read a small selection from ISKCON Desire Tree about this day. On this day, the Ganga is worshipped, and many people make offerings to the forefathers and bathe in the Ganga. On this day, if possible, one should worship the Ganges and bathe in her waters. So if anybody has any Ganges in a bottle, this was from, Hadai Pran went to New Vrindavan last week, and he brought me back as a gift a little bottle of Ganges water. Hare Krishna. From Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, chapter 13, description of Vidyanagar and Janudvip. As Nityananda spoke, they went to Jannagar, where they saw the enchanting hermitage of Janu Muni. Nityananda Prabhu explained, this enchanting place named Janudvip is known as Bhadravan. At this place, Janu Muni underwent penances and received darshan of the golden form of Lord Chaitanya. Janu Muni was sitting here chanting his Gayatri mantra when his Achman cup fell into the Bhagirati, Ganges, and was swept away by the currents. He opened his mouth and drank all the water in one gulp. King Bhagirath thought, where has the Ganges gone? He concluded that Janu Muni had drunk the Ganges. The king was overwhelmed with anxiety and worshipped the Muni for several days. The Muni then released the Ganges from his body. Because of this incident, the Ganges is known as Jahnavi, the daughter of Janu throughout the world. Hare Krishna. Janu Muni ki jai, Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess just, comment about the Janu Muni thing. Generally, the Kali Yuga is
Where
called...
is the microphone?
Right here.
Okay.
Kali Yuga is called the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And if you just imagine something like that happening today, like the king immediately, he didn't think to like chastise Janamuni, like, what the hell are you doing? Why'd you swallow the Ganga? You know how many people get, he could have complained in so many different things and started a fight. But instead, what does he think to do? He thinks, oh, let me just worship him. And then Janamuni, eventually being pleased by his worship, gives up his anger with whatever caused him to drink it and then sets everything right. So I don't know, it just, nice story, reflects the different, more pure age. We could learn from that, not
The
starting
most
fights.
powerful quality of the Brahmin is forgiveness. We see Lord Jesus Christ crucified, the most heinous, like people in different times of history, they conjure up all these like horrible methods to torture people and execute people. And he said, forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. Very, very powerful. So, where is that place in the Bhāgavatam? That, Jai and Vijay cursed by the sages. That even though the Brahmins utter cruel harsh words, that one doesn't retaliate or get into a fight, but accepts humbly and praises the Brahmins. Lord Vishnu was saying, this very much endears such Brahmins to me. They captivate my heart. Any other questions?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Shri Shri